The Super Bowl makes for some really weird legal questions. Oh, wait, just a minute. Oh, I am being informed by the NFL's lawyers that I cannot actually refer to that game by that particular name. So I am required to say that weird or unusual legal or jurisprudential issues are created by the big game, the championship game, football's biggest night, the gridiron showdown, the ultimate game, the Lombardi Trophy game, the Sunday spectacle, the final showdown, the World Series of Poker of football, touchdown time with Travis the Toolman Kelsey, commercials interrupted by football, the Human Puppy Bowl, Taylor Swift's Boyfriends Eras Tour, the Kendrick concert with special guests the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, the Pro Football Championship, or the season finale. Actually, I'm just kidding. I can say whatever I want.
The Super Bowl, where legends are made, records are shattered, and millions tune in for the drama.
But there's another side to Super Bowl Sunday. From game-fixing allegations to billion-dollar lawsuits, the NFL isn't just the biggest name in sports, it's a legal battlefield. So since no one actually wants to see the Chiefs win again, we're gonna cover what you really want to see, the legal battles. Could someone legally rig the biggest game of the year? Can you legally bet on the game? Can you legally engage in sports betting? And most importantly, can you actually call it the Super Bowl? Now, at the time of this video, it is the year of our Lord 2025, and as proof that there is no real merciful God, the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. And football fans have feelings about it. Now, are the Chiefs unstoppable because they're good, or because people in high places really want them to win? Now, the National Football League is not like professional wrestling. At least that's what they want you to believe. But what if someone tried to rig the biggest game of the year? Is that even possible, or would it be illegally allowed? Now, NFL fans have been speculating about rigged games since Super Bowl III between the Jets and the Colts. Joe Namath's Jets were 18-point underdogs, but before the game, he guaranteed victory. Broadway Joe's Jets went on to beat the Colts 16-7. Now, at the time, the fledgling AFL was considered vastly inferior to the NFL. Angry fans believe the two leagues conspired to fix the game, setting up the AFL-NFL merger that created the league that we know today and sometimes love. Now, there was no evidence that the fix was in for Super Bowl III. However, sports betting has always posed a threat to the integrity of sports. The most famous game-fixing scandal in sports history happened in Major League Baseball when 8 players from the 1919 Chicago White Sox allegedly threw the World Series for a payout. But gamblers have also tried to bribe football players. In 1947, Alvin Paris, a big bettor on pro sports, was convicted of offering New York Giants players Frank Filchock and Merle Hapes bribes to influence the outcome of the NFL championship game against the Chicago Bears. The Giants lost 24-14, and the NFL suspended both players. In 1963, Green Bay Packers legend Paul Hornung and Alex Karras of the Detroit Lions admitted to betting on NFL games. Commissioner Pete Rozelle suspended them for the entire season for violating the league's strict no gambling policy. After these scandals, the NFL took an even harder line on sports gambling. NFL personnel, including players, coaches, referees, and team employees, are strictly prohibited from betting on NFL games, practices, and events. Participating in any gambling activity related to football, placing bets on non-football sporting events from league and team facilities, and accepting prizes from any season-long fantasy contest in excess of $250. But it's not just the league that enforces the rules. Federal and state laws have something to say about it too. Bribing someone to influence a sports contest is a federal crime. 18 U.S.C. 224 says, quote, whoever carries into effect, attempts to carry into effect, or conspires with any person to carry into effect any scheme in commerce to influence in any way by bribery any sporting contest with knowledge that the purpose of such scheme is to influence by bribery that contest can be imprisoned for up to 5 years. And many state laws have their own sports bribery statutes as well. But bribery aside, there's a conspiracy theory out there that the NFL could rig its own games. Could they legally do that? Because sometimes the games really feel rigged. Now, there's a conspiracy theory that the NFL is rigged because it's classified as an entertainment business rather than a sports league. The theory arose from a court case where the NFL's lawyers argued that games are entertainment products. Now, some fans believed that the NFL was implying that they have control over the outcomes, just like professional wrestling. But this theory is based on a misinterpretation of legal language. In the early aughts, a company called American Needle sued the NFL and Reebok, alleging that the team's exclusive licensing agreement with Reebok violated the Sherman Antitrust Act. American Needle argued that because NFL teams separately own their team logos and trademarks, they ought to be able to license their headwear to any company they chose. But under league rules, NFL properties had full authority to award the exclusive headwear license for all 32 teams. But the NFL saw the suit as a golden ticket to get a ruling that pro sports leagues were exempt from the Sherman Antitrust Act, One of the briefs characterized pro football as a single unit of entertainment. Quote, a sports league produces a single entertainment product, a structured series of athletic competitions, leading to a championship that no member club could produce on its own, and it competes as a unit against other entertainment producers. The NFL stressed that the league, quote, controls the overall conduct and business decisions of its member clubs. But in 2010, the Supreme Court deflated the team's antitrust dream. The court ruled that the NFL and its member teams were not a single entity for the purposes of antitrust laws. And the type of concerted action American Needle complained of is not beyond Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. And this was a fascinating case, but it had nothing to do with rigging games. While the NFL is legally classified as an entertainment business, that does not mean it is exempt from laws governing legitimate sports competitions. The league is regulated like any other business and must comply with Federal Trade Commission rules on fair business practices. The NFL also has to cooperate with gaming commissions. If the league really did rig games, it couldn't fall back on legal language asserting that somehow the league is for entertainment just like the WWE. Pro wrestling discloses the scripted nature of its entertainment, and you can't bet on matches. If the NFL rigged games, it would face a tsunami of lawsuits from fans, bettors, gaming commissions, and the feds. Now, the league says it's never caught a player shaving points or throwing the outcome, but fans are still suspicious, especially when something unusual impacts the betting lines. For example, during a 2023 playoff game between the Cowboys and the Bucs, Cowboys kicker Brett Maher missed 4 consecutive extra point attempts. The Cowboys won 31-14, but gamblers smelled a rat. The extra point is the easiest kick a team will attempt during a game.
Nobody misses the extra point.
So how could a kicker botch 4 of them? And yeah, before Maher, no one had ever missed 4 extra points in a single game. The over-under line was set at 45.5 points, and the final combined score was 45 points. And if he had made at least 2 of his 4 missed extra points, bettors who picked the over would have made serious money. Outraged fans tagged the NFL and the FBI, encouraging them to investigate the kicker. Even former NFL players like Fred Taylor and Derek Mason speculated that Maher had been shaving points. So surely the NFL would at least take a look at the kicker's finances, right? Wrong. The Dallas Cowboys players supported Maher after the game, and the kicker had a tough day.
I'm Money Maher's biggest fan.
But to this day, there's no real evidence that the kicker shaved points, but on the other hand, I guess we'll never know for sure. So how can we be so confident that players aren't fixing the games? Well, the NFL uses data analytics to detect irregularities in gameplay, officiating, or player performance that might indicate tampering. These measures have led to an uptick in the number of players suspended for gambling on football. For example, the NFL's integrity monitoring systems flagged Calvin Ridley's bets, which included wagers on his own team. But players aren't the only ones who might be vulnerable to bribes. Officials also have control over the outcome. Let me say that again. Officials also have a lot of control over the outcome of certain games.
Patrick, for your whole career, you have had so many great people help you win. So who is your favorite ref?
Now, former NFL Vice President of Officiating Dean Blandino acknowledged that shady characters have approached officials about throwing games. And Blandino said that the NFL monitors referees closely because they want to avoid a scandal like the NBA had in 2007, when it came out that referee Tony Donaghy had been betting on games and manipulating the point spread of games that he was directly involved in. Consequently, the NFL scrutinizes everything about the officials' lives, their associates, their bank accounts, their family connections, their possible conflicts of interest. The NFL also monitors the betting lines and whether certain officials made calls that impacted the lines. While not foolproof, these initiatives help the NFL ensure that games are decided by skill, not scandal. Now, obviously, if you're going to sue someone over an NFL trademark, you'll want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, let my law firm, the Eagle Team, help. If you've gotten in a car crash, suffered a data breach, especially if you got one of those data breach letters saying your information might have been leaked, or are dealing with a workers' comp or social security issue, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney. Because it's so important to talk to a lawyer right away so you can maximize your recovery. And by the way, we don't get paid unless you do, so there's nothing up front. So just click on the link in the description or call the phone number on screen for a free consultation with my team. Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle Team. Not the team, the Eagles from Philadelphia. The legal team, the Eagle Team. You know what to do. And that's a good thing since millions of people around the world will place bets on the big game. Because, let's be real about this, the fun of the Super Bowl isn't just eating hot wings and watching the game, it's probably betting money on it. I'm just kidding. I'm probably one of the only YouTube creators who is not actually sponsored by DraftKings or Kick. Now, whether you're wagering on the score,
that should do it, 41-10 Chiefs.
The coin toss,
And it is heads. We want that motherfucker!
or even the length of the national anthem, Super Bowl Sunday is like a gambler's holiday. But is it really legal for Americans to bet on the big game? Well, that depends on where you live. By now, almost everyone knows how to legally bet on football, but it wasn't always like this. In the old days, you needed to find a bookie, wager on the game, and that was strictly illegal and also extremely dangerous.
Oh, thanks. All off.
But everything changed in 2018. Now you can place bets on your phone or computer in most states. Betting companies sponsor teams, and stadiums are filled with ads for the most popular gaming apps. This turn of events was all made possible by the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court's game-changing decision, pun absolutely intended, in Murphy versus NCAA, the court considered the constitutionality of the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, or PASPA, of 1992. The PASPA bans states from authorizing sports betting, with limited exceptions for Nevada, Delaware, Montana, and Oregon. New Jersey sought to repeal its own laws banning sports betting to allow it in casinos and racetracks. New Jersey claimed that PASPA unlawfully prevented states from making their own laws, violating the 10th Amendment's protection of state sovereignty. And 4 major professional sports leagues, along with the NCAA, filed a lawsuit to enjoin New Jersey from allowing betting on their sporting events. In a 6-3 ruling, the court agreed with New Jersey. Justice Alito wrote the majority opinion, emphasizing that the federal government cannot commandeer states to enforce federal law. Now, the anti-commandeering principle is a legal doctrine that prohibits the federal government from forcing state governments or their officials to implement or enforce federal laws or regulatory programs. The court concluded that, quote, even where Congress has the authority under the Constitution to pass laws requiring or prohibiting certain acts, it lacks the power directly to compel the states to require or prohibit those acts. The majority opinion concluded, quote, the Constitution confers upon Congress the power to regulate individuals, not states. Therefore, quote, Congress can regulate sports gambling directly, but if it elects not to do so, each state is free to act on its own. Congress could have passed a new anti-gambling law that applied to people, not states, but it decided not to act. As a result, the decision effectively legalized sports betting nationwide by allowing states to create their own regulations. Since that ruling, 38 states and Washington, D.C. have passed laws to legalize sports gambling, significantly expanding the industry. And after the Murphy case, the NCAA and the 4 sports leagues capitulated, partnering with betting companies and giving those companies access to students and sports fans. So now sports betting is ubiquitous in American society for good or ill. In 2023, Americans wagered over $16 billion on the Super Bowl. That's more than the GDP of some small countries. But here's the catch. Even in states where betting is legal, there are rules. You've got to be at least 18 or 21, depending on your state, and you should avoid placing bets through an unregulated site, since that can be a risky move both legally and financially. And of course, never bet on the Buffalo Bills.
They'll choke. That's what they do.
So can you gamble on the Super Bowl? Well, thanks to the Supreme Court, you probably can, depending on how old you are and where you live. Just remember to bet responsibly and never gamble more than you can afford to lose. Oh, and never bet on the Cleveland Browns. As you have probably seen, Super Bowl Sunday is almost like a religious holiday in the US, and local businesses like to get in on the fun. The league welcomes your participation as long as you don't use its trademarks to profit from the game. As you probably heard, the NFL aggressively protects its Super Bowl trademark, ensuring that businesses, advertisers, and events do not use the term without proper authorization. And the NFL also has marks for Super Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, the Super Bowl logo, the National Football League and NFL names and logos, and team names and logos as well. But just because the NFL is extremely aggressive and litigious, that doesn't mean they're necessarily right. Trademark law protects a trademark owner's exclusive right to use a trademark when the use of the mark by another would be likely to cause consumer confusion as to the source or origin of the goods. And trademark law is largely a federal issue governed by the Federal Lanham Act. And over the years, the NFL has sent cease and desist letters to bars, restaurants, and businesses that use Super Bowl in marketing without permission. For example, in 2007, the NFL sent a cease and desist letter to the Fall Creek Baptist Church in Indianapolis. The church had planned a Super Bowl viewing party and was going to charge a $3 admission fee to cover snack costs. The NFL objected to the use of the term Super Bowl in the event's promotion and the charging of admission, citing trademark and copyright violations. The letter scared other organizations into canceling or altering their own Super Bowl party events. Now, trademarks are meant to prevent competitors from confusing customers into believing they are buying products from a trusted source. That's why the NFL routinely sues businesses selling Super Bowl merchandise, like shirts, hats, and banners. In 2016, the NFL obtained a court order to seize counterfeit merchandise and tickets bearing the NFL trademarks ahead of Super Bowl 50. This action targeted individuals and small vendors selling unlicensed Super Bowl apparel and memorabilia. Now, you might be tempted to feel sorry for these small businesses, but you shouldn't. Like any good lawyer, you should take your feelings, shove them down, and crush them. They probably didn't have the right to profit from the NFL's trademarks, and they shouldn't be tricking consumers into thinking that they were buying tickets to NFL games and events, or buying official merchandise from the NFL. That's what trademarks are meant to protect, consumer confusion. But in general, the pendulum has swung probably way too far to the other side, and to avoid legal issues, businesses often use alternate phrasing like the big game. And then there's one of my favorite workarounds, the superb owl.
Superb owl body. That's the owl's egg.
But the good news is there are still limits on how far the NFL can go. The purpose of trademark law is preventing consumer confusion. And would people attending a Super Bowl party at a local bar really think that the NFL sponsored that event? Probably not. So in some, if not most circumstances, someone can use the NFL's trademarks, especially the term the Super Bowl, if that use is considered fair use. Now, fair use in trademark law is very different from trademark in copyright law, but fair use typically falls into two categories: descriptive fair use and nominative fair use. Descriptive fair use occurs when someone uses another's trademark to describe their own products or services rather than to indicate the source of those goods or services. This is allowed when the trademark has a descriptive meaning in addition to its trademark significance. So for example, you can still refer to an apple as an apple despite the fact that Apple is trademarked in the context of computers. Now, on the other hand, nominative fair use applies when someone uses someone's trademark to refer to the trademark owner's products or services. So for example, Pepsi could say that in a blind taste test, people preferred Pepsi over Coca-Cola because they are actually referring to Coca-Cola's product, the soda itself. And this type of fair use is generally acceptable under three conditions. 1, the product or service cannot be identified without using the trademark. 2, only as much of the mark as is necessary is used to identify the product or service. And 3, the use does not imply sponsorship or endorsement by the trademark owner. So a news outlet discussing Super Bowl ticket prices or Super Bowl betting odds is almost certainly protected because it would be hard to discuss Super Bowl commercials without using the term Super Bowl. And we talked about fair use when we analyzed the US Olympic Committee's lawsuit against Logan Paul and his Prime energy drink. The USOC alleged that Prime didn't have the right to use the words Olympian and Olympic to promote the drink, even though the athletes endorsing the products were Olympians. Paul and Prime Hydration settled the dispute in January. But the company also had an arguable fair use defense. Kevin Durant has 4 Olympic gold medals. That's a fact. He has a right to endorse products and a right to accurately describe himself as an Olympic gold medalist. So while the NFL is aggressive about protecting its empire, that doesn't mean that fans are completely at the mercy of the league. Arguably, you can still call your Super Bowl parties Super Bowl parties, but wouldn't it be more fun to celebrate a superb owl instead?
It's the greatest owl of all time.
Now, the Super Bowl has generated a whole bunch of interesting law, but one of the most fascinating issues is the lawsuit regarding NFL Sunday Ticket and DirecTV. A jury found that they engaged in illegal antitrust violations and found them liable for almost $5 billion. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we made an exclusive companion video detailing the lawsuit, which you can only see if you sign up for today's sponsor, Nebula. Because on Nebula, you can watch all of our videos ad-free and early, because our videos always go up on Nebula first. Plus, there's a ton of exclusive content, and for limited time, you can get a lifetime membership. You can buy once and then never again. It's the greatest deal of all. And if you're new here, Nebula includes tons of exclusive videos from me, original series from your favorite people, movies, plays, classes, and more. I've heard it described as Netflix for people who like trains, with your favorites like Johnny Harris, Neo, Jetlag, Real Engineering, Real Life Lore, and your most favorite, LegalEagle. And exclusives on Nebula are fantastic. I recently enjoyed watching RiffTrax's commentary on Plan 9 from Outer Space, and I think it's just awesome that the former MST3K people are now on Nebula. You can see my feature-length documentary, Bad Law Words Good, my full-length interview with the screenwriter of My Cousin Vinny, and my not safe for work video about lawsuits that are too hot for YouTube. Because what's truly special about Nebula is that it's a creator-owned platform, built by me and other YouTubers and podcasters, and because it's a subscription service, we get to work on larger, higher-budget productions than we ever could anywhere else. It's becoming the answer to the question, how do you get Hollywood-level production value without Hollywood-level BS? And for those of you that want to share everything Nebula has to offer with your friends and family, Nebula is now offering annual gift cards. And if you sign up using the link that's on screen right now or down below, you can give a year of Nebula to a friend for 40% off the yearly subscription. That's a year of the best content for just $36. And that's a gift that you can give to yourself, by the way. So get 40% off of you or a friend's yearly subscription for just $36, or you can check out Lifetime, where for just $300, you can get access to Nebula forever. We're investing in more big concept, high-octane Nebula originals, and your lifetime subscription goes towards that investment. In a way, Lifetime is the best possible deal of all. Either way, you'll get my videos early, get access to exclusives, and support the ambitious projects that my friends and I are working on our own streaming site. So sign up now and get you or a friend 40% off of Nebula, or get the incredible Lifetime deal by clicking on the link below. After that, click on this link over here for more LegalEagle, or I'll see you in court.